what the hell is it?
Dude, be careful.
Welcome back to another episode of the Steebee Weebee Show. We have a very special guest tonight. Please welcome, on the first time on the podcast, fitness trainer, actor, and podcaster, Mark Harley. Did I say your name right?
Yes, you did.
Holy smokes, thanks for coming.
Yeah, of course. And I was bracing for it because I don't want to have to correct people on my name, but somebody did that recently, like introduced me that I'd met before, and they're like, Mark Healy, and I'm like, it's Harley for the video.
It's Harley, yeah.
They're like, I don't care, but
Yeah.
It's like you might not want to have those comments in your thing, like his name's Harley.
I think you're our first fitness trainer, so this is a historical night.
Right.
We've never had a fitness trainer.
Yeah.
And how do we meet again?
Well, we met in the green room at the Haha. Yeah.
And you're just hanging out with the boys.
Yes.
Brandon was there. Chappelle was in there.
Yeah.
David Lucas. The boys are crammed in there.
Right. It's a very small green room for a lot of big boys.
Yeah. And we just we were shooting the shit because I was looking at your muscles, and and I was like, hey man, like, how do you get your body to look like that?
Yeah. Which is a long conversation, but I love when people engage with me like that.
Oh,
Well,
really?
Seriously, I do
are they intimidated? Like, I don't care. I'll just go in there.
I guess some people could be. No, what I'm saying is, I love having these sort of like neutral things about yourself. Like if you have an interesting piercing or something like that, people will be like, hey, you're piercing.
Right.
It's almost like my body is like that, and it's a gateway into a conversation.
Oh,
that,
absolutely.
Like, we wouldn't have had this extensive conversation. I'm sure we would have been cordial.
But we went in deep.
Right, because then
about diet?
Yes.
You told me about a Greek yogurt that contained protein.
Yes.
What was it called? What was that thing you said?
Well, the brand that I use is Fage Greek yogurt, but it has a surprisingly high amount of protein.
How do you spell that, man? No, I need to take notes. How do you
Fage, and this is one of these special recipes that I have, like one of my own personal diet hacks. I use Fage Greek yogurt. I put Magic Spoon protein cereal in it, peanut butter powder, and like frozen blueberries, and some Splenda to make it sweet, and it kind of like is like a fake high protein frozen yogurt.
Right.
Because it's really about textures when you're eating,
Right. And you could buy that at Ralph's or Vaughn's or any.
Absolutely, yeah. Not Magic Spoon. You have to order that online, actually.
You do.
Yeah. Some of these it's kind of a new fad is like high protein cereals.
Right.
Now it's expensive. It's like $7 a box, and you have it delivered. But because you're only, I measure it out, so it's not like you're eating Cinnamon Toast Crunch and just having bowl after bowl.
That's horrible for you.
It really is.
You're just eating sugar, right? When you eat
Correct.
That.
It's not good, and I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
It tastes so damn good.
Yeah, but like that to me, diet is all about being like, here's this thing that you like. Now you can have this. It's not maybe quite as good, but if you're not eating Cinnamon Toast Crunch every day, that high protein substitute, because there are like high protein cinnamon toast cereals
substitutes.
Yeah.
Is oatmeal a better option? Like just regular oatmeal, or no?
Yes, and you can also get there's now like protein oatmeal. Probably the most important underlying thing if you're trying to lose body fat, having protein with every meal is just one of those basic foundational things that it will make you full. And oatmeal is also a good carbohydrate typically, and they've studied this. This versus other breakfast foods, it'll fill you up more and make you less hungry throughout the day.
Right. What about like a hard-boiled egg or something like that?
Yeah. I think eggs are great because you combine protein and fat. Really, where we get in trouble is when you have sugars and fats together.
So you need protein and fat, not sugar.
Protein and fat and protein and carbs. Like if you were to eat, for example, like a protein shake and a rice cake or something like that. Or, you know, you could even add like one little hack is like protein powder in a Gatorade. Like take vanilla protein and put it into like a lemon lime Gatorade. It actually tastes pretty good.
Really?
And you can like put a scoop in and funnel it in and like just shake it right there.
So where do I get this protein powder?
Well,
in a Gatorade, like a regular Gatorade.
What I'm saying is, you would get the protein powder and then take like a piece of paper and turn it into like a funnel. You know, like you'd like fold it into a cone, scoop it in there, put the cap back on, and shake it. Did
you come up with that? You were just experimenting?
Yeah.
That's your invention.
This is stuff that,
yeah. Because you
come up with I'm not the only person who does it, but it's like you just kind of go, oh, can I put protein in this?
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah. I asked you quite a bit about me because I know I can't get that thick.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get like, you know how Bruce Lee was cut back in his prime?
Nor would you want to get as big as me per se, right?
No, I wanted to get cut. Like, you know how Bruce Lee was like when he was filming Enter the Dragon? Yes, he has an amazing
physique. And a big part of that was just the fact that he's super lean.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize, like, if I dropped 10 pounds of fat right now, I would probably look bigger because my muscles would be more prominent, right?
Yeah.
Like, you would see more definition in my muscles. So the average person goes, look how buff that person is. But really what they're describing is being ripped.
Right.
When you see a ripped person... Like when I'm leaner and I have more like veins and stuff, people go, "Oh, you must be really strong."
I really
envy.
This is what I envy. This is what stood out to me. I was looking at this,
the bicep vein,
all this, and I'm like, "How do you?" That's
and
really
part of
alpha.
That, most guys really want to be lean at the end of the day.
I just want to be cut.
Yeah.
Now, can I get in somewhat shape where I don't have to go to the gym? Because I have a bar over there with some weight. Like I don't have that many weights, but I have.
You can accomplish tremendous things without going to the gym.
In here.
Correct. I would say the only piece of equipment.
Do I need a pull-up bar? Or?
A pull-up bar would go a long way.
Okay, I'm gonna write
but
that down.
Also, like, if you don't want to be limited to pull-ups, because those are difficult for most people to start. I don't know can you do any pull-ups?
Well, I used to wrestling. During wrestling, I mean, this was in the '90s, but like that was mandatory.
Yeah.
It was
so I'm sure you could do a bunch.
Back then, I could.
Yeah.
I could probably do like 3 now.
Right. So either to start off with, people would get a pull-up bar and then like assistance bands, which you like tie over the bar and then you put your foot in, so it gives you like help up so you can do the 10 reps or whatever.
Yeah.
Another thing would be they sell on Amazon like these U-shaped bars that come in pairs that are like this big. And so what you can do on these is dips, and then also
I love dips.
Put your feet on the ground and do body weight rows.
Yeah.
If you can picture that, like imagine you put your feet in here and I'm kind of like I have my butt on the ground and I'm reaching up and pulling myself up. So it's like the motion of a pull-up, but you're not vertical.
Right.
You're horizontal, pulling yourself up into the bars, which works the same muscles basically, but you can do more because it's a different angle. So you can do like, if you can do 5 pull-ups, you could probably do 15 body weight rows.
Now, when you mentioned dips, what part of is that your triceps you're working out there?
Yes, but also your chest, because think about this in the bottom motion.
I always wondered that.
Right?
Yeah, because
it's working your shoulders, your triceps, and your chest, because if you sit, the deeper you go down, the more it stretches your pecs. So
right. Can I take a look at your stomach real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lift up your shirt. Yeah. Just. Is
this still?
Yeah. Yeah. How do you get those muscles going?
And again, I'm not incredibly ripped, but
no.
I saw
the definition.
See my abs. Yeah. It's not like I'm.
How do you
chasing.
Get the abs? How do you get the abs?
Well, there's 2 different things, right? The first is. Well, the fitness world tries to sell you this myth of like that you can target belly fat, when in reality it's just the last fat that's going to come off, right? Yeah,
that's
eventually if you but you're not that fat, right? You could still there are many people who are in worse shape than you, right? So that's what I'm saying.
There's still progress I can
make. But guess what?
It.
If you lost 20 pounds of fat, which is not that, like, it's very doable.
How do I do that?
Through a caloric deficit.
So, okay, when you say caloric deficit, does that mean to cut down on the calories on a daily basis?
That means simply that you are eating less calories than you're burning every day. And you're burning calories just laying down in bed, right?
What about intermittent fasting? Does that come into play? Like just eating 1 meal a day, something like that?
Yeah, I would say that's under, like, if the big meta goal is caloric deficit for getting ripped, then you're just looking at how do I get there every day without starving?
Right.
And so then you're looking at different options, like, for example, you would lose a bunch of weight if you only ate Pop-Tarts every day, but you ate in a caloric deficit. If you burn 2,500 calories every day and you ate 2,000 calories of Pop-Tarts, you would lose weight. Now, would you retain a lot of muscle? Probably not.
Because it's all sugar.
Yeah. Would you
carbs.
feel great? Probably
No.
not. Would you be hungry still because Pop-Tarts aren't very filling? Yeah. So the trick is, how do I eat in a caloric deficit while being full, while getting enough protein, while having enough energy to work out? And so that's where the tricks that I would consider, like intermittent fasting, is sort of a trick. It has its own separate health benefits, but part of that is just going, if I eat in a smaller window, then I can eat bigger meals and feel normal and just skip breakfast, essentially, right?
But it won't get me those abs.
Over time, it will. You know, if you commit to that, like, but here's the thing. You could intermittent fast if you're burning, like if your body through just functioning and exercising every day is burning 2,500 calories.
Give me like a ballpark estimate. Like, so what is that? What kind of meal would that entail? Like a cheeseburger or something and fries or something?
A burger and fries might be like 1,500 calories.
I'll be honest with you, all right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna admit.
Yeah.
When I do eat my one meal, it's usually In-N-Out Burger. Okay.
You could actually, if you're eating one meal a day, you could make
right?
that work. Like a Chipotle bowl could be like 1,000 to like 1,200, 1,500, like depending on what you put in there. Obviously, it's customizable, but like a one meal a day could be definitely put you in a caloric deficit, and you would eat a meal that would make you feel full.
You know what the thing is? The soda, I get refills on the soda pop.
So why don't you drink diet soda?
Really? So like Diet Coke will make a difference?
Oh, tremendous! Because
Diet Coke.
Do you know?
No.
Oh, yes.
No,
yes.
man.
Yes.
Really?
So you're going, I refuse to do that, right?
Yeah.
That is one of the biggest and most simple hacks, because I also...
how about this? Diet Red Bull.
Yeah. Really? Sugar-free Red Bull.
No.
Yes.
It makes a difference.
How many calories are in a zero sugar Red Bull? I gave away the answer. Zero. Right. Now, I'm somebody who... I love fizzy drinks,
There's
right?
no calories in
There's
that.
no calories in here, so I can drink these all day long.
I lost weight getting I lost weight. I noticed once I started buying those on a regular basis, I did lose some weight.
Yes.
Because I used to buy 6 packs, 12 packs of soda. Dr. Pepper, Pepsi, Barks Root Beer.
Yeah, and I had those all growing up.
I love that stuff.
So one of the principles that I really try to convey to people is, you're scratching this itch. What is the itch that you want from this thing?
I want the sparkling.
The sparkling, yes. The bubbles. The bubbles
the
and a little bit of flavor. And you realize, oh, if I'm not drinking sugar all the time, actually, like, I don't need all that sugar, right? Because you kind of get, like anything, like any drug, right? You know, when you're doing a drug, the next time it's not going to be as potent, so you do more and more and more. And when you're addicted to sugar, like, when I was a kid, I was drinking soda all day long and had no concept that it was like, but you know, it's like a beverage. You just go, oh, I'm thirsty.
Yeah.
You don't even think of it as consuming calories. But if
you are.
Correct.
A lot.
So if there's,
that adds up.
Yeah, it could be 150 calories in a thing of soda, in a can of soda.
Yeah.
Which if you're eating... Like, I mean, easily I could eat, if you're drinking them all day long, 10, right?
Well, I could drink those all day. I don't gain nothing.
Well,
but water weight, yeah.
Right, if you were to, but that's fine. Like,
that's fine. I'll sweat that out.
If it doesn't have any sodium in it or anything, or like, you're not going to retain any more water than the homeostasis that your body's already in. Right. So you can do things to make yourself retain more water, but if you're everything else being normal, this won't make you gain any weight because there's no calories.
All right, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Yeah. Okay, so my new favorite drink is, can you hold that bottle up? Snapple Apple.
Okay.
Can you read the
what's the total
calorie contents in that, Chelsea? 200 calories.
100 per serving.
Right, and that's another trick they use is they go, oh, it's 100 calories per serving. There's 2 in the bottle, right?
So what's the reality of that? How many calories is in that?
That is just as much as a soda or more.
What?
Yeah. So,
but they market it like it's the best stuff on earth.
Correct. That's a great point.
They market it like it's natural, like it's apple juice or something.
Exactly.
But the thing is, it tastes so good.
They do, and all juices, unfortunately, do. Like, we think of them as, you have to learn to separate, like, the kind of language of healthy, organic, this, that. It's all the same as far as if you're trying to restrict your calories to lose weight.
Yeah.
Right? Now, perhaps there is some benefit to drinking a Snapple versus drinking a soda. I don't know.
Not
that.
much,
Like
not much.
I couldn't necessarily name it.
Be honest though, that's sugar, right? That's sugar.
It's
sweet.
Yeah, and sugar is an inherently bad. I would say
fructose.
Yeah, this processed high fructose corn syrup type of stuff.
That's what that is.
Because you're getting that in a concentrated form versus something like fruit. If you ate that same calories from fruit, here's what you would, if you ate 200 calories of fruit, you would feel more full because there's more volume to that food and your body has to digest it and it knows it's digesting something rather than, like making this pass through your stomach very easily. And it doesn't really, it fills you up as long as the liquid is in there.
Right.
But you're also getting fiber from fruit, which is filling. So it's less of an insulin spike for you, which you also want. You don't want to be constantly spiking your insulin, which is another thing. Like, for example, oatmeal. You want carbs that are lower on the glycemic index, and the glycemic index just measures like the insulin response that your body has.
Spell glycemic?
GLYCEMIC.
Wait, GLY.
Yeah. CEMIC, correct.
You say glycemic what?
Index.
What is that?
So it basically,
that sounds pretty technical.
Yeah, well, it ranks all these different foods based on your body's insulin response to them. So what are, people who are diabetic, it's essentially an insulin dysfunction, right? You're becoming insulin insensitive because your insulin's constantly being spiked.
Because of sugar and
because
candy
of
bars.
Sugar, yeah.
And,
so, you end up having higher blood sugar.
Yeah,
because you're not
from Tribe Called Quest died because of that.
Right. So it's a serious
diabetes,
thing.
It's a serious thing.
Yeah, very serious thing. And part of the reason that we see it so frequently in America is because of our high sugar diets,
Right.
And so something like oatmeal, just because you brought that up, there's this idea of like slower burning carbohydrates.
Well, what are those? That's a thing?
Things like oatmeal, things like yams, carbohydrates that don't spike your insulin and digest slower.
Yeah.
And like oatmeal has more fiber. So it's just, as I said, it makes you full for longer. Like people, if you study two different groups, different breakfast items versus, oatmeal versus cereal, maybe. I forget what the other group had, but like people who eat oatmeal, they stay full longer. Then you eat less at lunch or whatever. You know what I mean? You're not famished. So that's kind of the game that you're trying to play, is like eating foods that fill you up for longer. Yeah. That's why like salads, people go like, do you have to eat a salad to go on a diet? No. But the trick is you're eating this huge volume of food. You could eat a huge like bowl of salad with a light dressing on it that might be like 300 calories, and it like fills your whole stomach.
Or vinegar, you could substitute dressing for vinegar.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to do like a really low calorie dressing that still tastes good. Like even like a little bit of olive oil and like lemon juice or vinegar, whatever it is, it gives you the taste you need that kind of like makes it palatable.
Right.
And the more fruits and vegetables you eat, it fills you up and makes you feel like you're not like, oh my God, I'm so starving. You don't want to be battling starvation all day.
No. So going back to how do I make my body into Bruce Lee again?
Yeah.
Let's go back to the Bruce Lee body.
Yeah.
What do you recommend that I do? Because I want to get cut.
One of the most simple things you can do, you basically want like a caloric plan, right? And so this can be easily done. I always recommend the app. Like today
I was just going to ask, is there an app on your phone,
amazing
your
resources, and people pay so much money for this stuff. So like, and if you really want a coach or a trainer or like a macronutrient coach is like a big trend nowadays, where you pay somebody to like tell you what to eat. My philosophy is kind of like with lifting, because it's like there's so much on YouTube now. Getting a personal trainer is great, but like I would recommend first, before I take your money, before you come to me and say, Mark, I want you to give me money. I want to say, don't you want to empower yourself as much as you can? Maybe you look at it and you go, I can't do this by myself. I really need somebody telling me. But especially if you don't have money, so it isn't an option for you to like hire somebody, download MyFitnessPal. It'll allow you.
Is that an app?
It's an app by I think Under Armour makes it, but it's
MyFitnessPal.
MyFitnessPal, and it's a real game changer for a lot of people because its primary function is to count all the calories that you eat. Like you can scan a barcode. This doesn't.
You can scan stuff.
But you just go, "What's this?" and it puts it in your app and stores it.
So you could scan that Apple Snapple?
Correct. And it would just be on part of your diet, and it basically combines what your weight is today.
I'm about 142.
Okay, and it would say, what do you want to weigh?
135.
Okay, so that's 7 pounds, for example.
130, 135.
If you, so you at the rate of like, you could lose that super steadily, like over the course of like 3 months with like half a pound of weight loss a week.
Yeah, half a pound.
And that really amounts to only like a 250 calorie deficit a
That's
day.
it?
Correct.
So I cut out a candy bar and I'm good.
Or you cut out that, roughly.
Oh, God, it's so good, though.
Seriously, because it can come down to things like that, just as an example.
So
because
it could be those minor details.
Those minor
just
details,
cutting
exactly.
That out?
Yeah. So it's like people often think like, oh, I'm going to start this diet and it's going to be only chicken and broccoli 8 times a day.
Then they're eating ice cream after. You know,
it can drive you to that. If your diet is making you binge, you should try a different one that incorporates foods that you still like every day.
My problem is I love candy still. I still eat Mambas and the high chews and M&Ms, peanut M&Ms.
If you had self-control over it,
cookies,
and I love all that stuff too.
Yeah.
Here's my secret: is I don't put it in the house.
So
if
you're
you
more
make it
disciplined,
right? Well, all you have to do, hey, go to the grocery store on a full stomach.
Oh,
right. That's one little trick.
I was going to empty stomach.
But you are.
I'll be honest. I bought 3 of those bad boys today.
Yeah, and that's
3
just
for
something
$4.
I used to do that. And there just comes a point when you really start measuring your calories. You go, man, what keeps bumping me out of this?
It's the sugar, man.
Right. It is the sugar because it's hyper palatable.
Yeah.
Chocolate is sugar and fat. Now, you could say, all right, I can budget a bag of M&Ms every day. I can get in enough protein that I need. And if I'm only trying to eat 2,000 calories and I eat 1,800 of normal food, quote unquote, you could have the bag of M&Ms if it's 200 calories at the end of the day and still scratch that itch and feel like you're not cutting out all the foods that you want. It's just that you can't have the third bag and the fourth bag and then the Sour Patch Kids on top of that, right?
Oh, those are good too. The watermelon ones, yeah.
Yeah, and I know what it's like to be, there was
delicious.
a point also, like I know you're sober, for example.
Yeah.
And I don't do drugs that often now, and in part it's because weed was always something for me. I'd smoke weed and almost I realized I'm like,
that's interesting.
This is an excuse for me to have the munchies. I want to binge eat, and then I'll go, I'm going to smoke weed, knowing that I'm going to I could be on my diet, and then it's part of your brain's you want to binge eat, don't you? I'm like, yeah, well, I'll just smoke weed first, oh, surprise, I'm hungry. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So how often do you smoke? Are you a casual?
Yes, now I don't.
Maybe once a month?
Because maybe even less than that. I'll take edibles too.
But that's a different kind of high, though, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And I just realized it's not super compatible with a fitness lifestyle. Yeah. And I've had times when I did I'd smoke weed and go for runs, for example.
Yeah, like the Diaz brothers, they could smoke weed and do a triathlon and lift weights and stuff.
So I'm not saying it's impossible. I just realized for me, it doesn't make me want to lift weights. I know some people have touted the idea that you go lift weights high, and I'm it kills the drive. You want some aggression when you're lifting weights.
Do you listen to music while you do it as well? Do you have your
Actually,
your headphones on?
I often used to do that a lot. Now I don't.
So you just silent.
Because, or a podcast or something, but I don't require aggression. I don't need to psych myself up. I rely on concentration. Now, you might need that for yourself, and I think it can really help. I always used music before football games to kind of get myself in a psychologically
Same thing with
state.
Wrestling. Certain wrestlers, they have their headphones on to get pumped up. Yeah. Metallica playing. They're
but I think because lifting is so routine, after so many years, it's I'm just going in and doing it, and I can almost compartmentalize.
Right.
I can think about other stuff or whatever. I just know what needs to be done, and I'm not fearful of it. And I don't feel the need. I also kind of don't believe in the whole idea of if you need to do that to lift a weight, you might not that might not be a good weight for you to lift. Right. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times you'll see guys doing deadlifts, and it's if you have to scream and psych yourself up.
They're making noises like that.
Yeah.
In the gym, they're doing that's pretty problematic, right? Because it's they're making noises.
Well, people want, and I'm seeing that in videos. I don't believe Because it really breaks your concentration.
Yeah,
like
disruptive.
To me, you should be going through it. Like the safest way to lift, especially with squats and deadlifts and complex compound movements, is to go through a series of cues in your mind. Like you want every rep to be the same as how you were warming up. I was watching this video today where this elite powerlifter showed, like, it's a video where he has the bar at his back and does a squat, then 135, and he keeps adding plates and showing every rep is the same at every weight.
Right.
Because he's so good at this checklist of mental cues. You put it on your back, you take 2 steps back, you put your feet exactly like this, you go down this far, and
so technique counts?
It's so important for the compound movements.
So what does that mean? What are compound movements?
Compound movement is a multi-joint movement. So if I'm doing a bicep curl, that's a single joint isolation movement. But a pull-up is a compound movement because I'm contracting my bicep at the elbow. I'm also contracting my rear deltoid, at the shoulder joint.
Yeah, the shoulder joint,
So it's incorporating
different muscles and
multiple
joints.
muscles. Yeah, and the heavy compound lifts, we kind of think of like there's some basic movements that you actually could get very buff from very few movements.
Really?
Like if you were to do, and I kind of think of these in terms of like the basic things the human body can do, really, like as far as movements.
Yeah.
Pressing in this vector, in that vector, and in that vector, right?
What about the reverse, the curl, like doing this? Okay,
right?
Sorry.
So pushing, we can't push behind ourselves, or we don't do that in real life. So it's like standing press, right? If you had a barbell, you could press it this way, you could bench press it, or you could do a dip, right?
Right.
That covers pretty much all the angles of pressing. You could change the angles in that range, but really it comes down to this, this, and this.
Right.
Pulling. You can do a pull-up or a pull-down. You can do a row, and then you can do a high pull like this.
Yeah.
Kind of like that helps, like in Olympic lifting, kind of like doing a snatch. It's like
right.
Pulling up this way.
What muscle does that work on? Like the inside of it, like when you do that.
Many muscles, and it will get your brachialis and your bicep. Like your brachialis is the muscle that's in between your bicep and tricep, and then the back part of your forearm here. It all kind of connects into here. So like the difference between a curl like this and a curl like this is that you're bringing your forearm and your brachialis into the movement.
How do you get this going? Like all these great veins. How do you get that going?
Good question.
Yeah.
Years of using my grip.
Really?
Because when I do back, for example, like some people will use straps.
Yeah.
Like to help us, but like I don't ever use straps. So I'm always doing as much grip work as possible, right? And if I'm doing like a deadlift to work like, on a leg day, for example, I'm still not using straps, I'm using my wrist. So over time, your grip gets progressively stronger if you are willing to use your grip.
Yeah. That's interesting,
and doing
man.
Forearm curls, but it's funny.
That's really appealing to me. I mean, I wish I had that.
As a kid, I wanted that too.
I want all the. Well, right. I get jealous when I look at your body. I get jealous. I'm like, dude, I want some of those veins.
Yeah, well, I think that, and that's another thing
what I mean?
that comes along with leanness. And for example, like if you were to do pull-ups every day, you're really like what gives out like almost first with pull-ups for most people is your grip.
Right.
Because you can't this is the weak link in the chain. If
that's interesting you would say that, because even in wrestling, right?
Yeah.
If I would have just worked on because wrestling's so much gripping.
Yeah.
If I would have just focused on that, like to add to my repertoire of training, it would have improved me as a wrestler.
Right.
Because I could have grabbed, wrist control.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Neck,
and it's
all
funny
that.
how you realize some of those things
That's
after
the fact.
Yeah.
Then years later, I'm like, oh man, because my dad, rest in peace, he used to do that. Just he'd be watching boxing or a game on the TV, and he would, like those little clinch things. Those little grip machine things.
Yeah, because it's like doing push-ups in prison. It's like, if you're doing 1,000 of them a day, they're gonna add up.
And it's gonna make your grip stronger.
Yes. So anytime you're fatiguing a muscle, then giving it rest and fatiguing it again, the more cycles you can get in, and if you can only do it 5 times and then your wrist is fatigued, then you rest, and you do it 6 times, and then whatever it is.
Do you do personal training for
I do, yeah.
And you work at a gym? Like, how do people?
No, I don't work in a gym.
But you're a personal trainer.
Yes, I used to work in a gym. Like when I first got certified, and I realized I didn't like that because it's basically a sales job. You kind of people are coming in. You're like, so here's what's wrong with you, and here's why you don't know how to work out, and I'm the only person who can fix that.
Yeah.
And actually, I'll go to gym if I sign up for a new gym, they offer you like a free personal training session, and so I take it and pretend like I don't know anything.
But dude, all they have to do is look at your body, and they'll know what you're about.
These trainers usually, I'm not saying they're all shitty, but like, the average trainer at a gym, like, I feel bad saying this, but they're just not that great. And
what makes you good? What makes you a good trainer then?
What makes you a good trainer, I think, is knowing your limitations. And I think that's something that I try to convey to people. I try to be aware of my expertise and go like, look, I know what works for me. I know these different styles of working out. I know I can bring you here. I know I can show you this, but I'm not the leading authority on everything.
Right.
And I'm not going to pretend I'm some sort of guru. You know what I mean? And so I think being upfront about that, and because more people approach me now, because my physique is more developed, even though I might have had the same information at a time when I wasn't working out as much, or I was only running and not trying to look big, or kind of because there were times in my life where I didn't want to be muscular.
Yeah.
Right?
I was just curious, what was your body like in high school?
My trajectory was, it looked more like this. I was 220 by the time I was 17, because I spent all high school bulking up for football, and then
So you did play sports?
I did, yeah.
Did you wrestle?
I did, yeah.
Of course you wrestled. You're like the star heavyweight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I did. I wrestled heavy, even though I was at the bottom of the weight because I was only 215, 220.
Yeah.
But my little brother was about my same size, and he was a couple years younger than me. I'm like, I'm not gonna beat him out for 215s and make him wrestle heavyweight. So I would go up against these bigger guys, but as it turns out, a lot of them, there's some difficulty to wrestling the really big guys.
Oh yeah.
But if you kind of know how to wrestle like the smaller guys do,
the technique
with leg attacks and stuff like that,
then
that
it's
can be a huge advantage.
Huge advantage.
And just having the endurance too.
Yes,
So I got a lot of dudes by pin, fireman's carries, and just moves that was
my move. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing about the fireman's carry, the trick was I would shoot with this arm.
Yeah.
I would leave this up on purpose. Because if you leave this, it's like you're baiting them. Because they're going to underhook and try to...
Oh, yeah.
But what you do, the trick of this move is to clinch.
Yes.
So once they underhook this, you clinch it to your body as
right,
hard.
Yeah.
And that's the clamp.
That's a really good point, yeah. It doesn't matter if you start there as long as you...
I would leave it as a bait.
And you could go in really... And I would actually, now that I think of it, I would go in for a high crotch. You could turn it. Yeah. You could either go for the high crotch or the fireman. It's kind of whatever's available to you. Yeah. But so I just say yes, for through college I was trying to get big, and then in my 20s.
Wait, what state? Like just for context, where is this?
In California.
This
high school in Northern California, and
where Chico?
No, not that north. In Marin County, just north of San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where I played football and wrestled, and even swam for a couple of years, for high school. So stuff like wrestling and swimming, it comes in handy because if you take that and apply it to football, and you can
stamina
play, because
the swimming helps the stamina.
Oh, tremendously.
Cardio.
And big carryover, because everyone would be wrestling's so tough. Oh my god. Now it was, but I was if you're coming from swimming, you do have this anaerobic capacity,
and that's a huge advantage.
Yes,
because anyone's tough in the first 30 seconds.
Yes,
get to the overtime.
Yeah,
and then you could.
And a lot of guys just even the wrestling practice, the amount of volume that you do, it's very tough because
so crazy. Yeah,
you just waste a lot less time on. It's tough from the get-go, and you're sweating, and
oh my God.
You're in a rest. We practice out of this with the portables. It was the steamy, you always remember how bad my skin was.
Did you have to
winter
cut weight at all?
Only when I was a junior, I did 189s, and I was cut a few pounds. But then after, when I was wrestling heavyweights, I could actually eat whatever I wanted.
I was so jealous of our heavyweight, because we'd all be cutting before a tournament, and then they're just doing whatever the hell they want.
I knew guys who were a couple of my friends were 103 pounders. Like
I was a 103. I was a 103. I was a 103.
Yeah, and it's funny how like.
But I had to cut from 115, 117 down to 103.
There's a guy I know now who is my friend in high school who he's actually my height and is like probably 200 pounds, and he wrestled 103. Like he was a late bloomer, but it was like
no, he wrestled.
You'd look at him and he'd be like, unbelievable that he wrestled. Yeah, like he just you could always like. You can kind of see like certain people have like broad shoulders or certain signs where you're like, you know, he would always be like, you'll see, I'm going to be over 6 feet tall. We're like, yeah.
Okay, was he a lengthier fella, a tall fella?
Yes.
See, I hated wrestling 103s that were lengthy and skinny. Because
it creates this whole set of challenges.
It's a whole different set of challenges because you'd be shooting on them.
Yeah.
And then they would just kind of wrap up or roll, and then they'd put a leg right in, and they would cradle you, or they would just, the lengthier guys I did not want to wrestle.
Yeah. It's amazing how different, like, body types. But then there's also like, these stocky guys. Like,
I love those guys.
There's, I think of, like, those weight classes, like, 145 to, like, 160 or 70, maybe, like, you know, where is most of the male population going to be? Like, some of these weight classes are so dense. Yeah. And you just see some of these,
that's a
like,
tough weight class.
Yeah. You kind of see, like, a lot of the, like, specimens, you know what I mean? Because you could be, like, an animal in 145. You might not be the football star because you'd have to be, like, for your build or whatever, like, to really, like, because if you're also like 5'7", 145, you're not going to be a wide receiver, even if you're really athletic. Yeah. But like you would just see some of these guys where you're like, holy fuck.
Do you still watch wrestling at all?
I like watching wrestling.
No, I mean, no, nowadays. Like, you watch NCAAs.
If it's on, I'll watch it. It's one of those things where
I'm an avid fan. I watch it every night for hours.
Do you really? Yeah.
Yeah, like
I'll watch matches.
The Cliff Keen Invitational. I follow the Big Tens. I follow Iowa, Penn State,
it's one of the
Cornell.
Few, like I don't even watch, and I played football. I don't really watch football like that. I used to back in the day, but now I'm like, there's so much to keep up on.
No,
I
but
can put on any random wrestling match and be entertained.
It's elevated. It's progressed.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a different ball game. Like the funk, the roll, like the way,
right, correct.
Even the takedowns, the way people like back then, like
it's insane to me how people get out of takedowns. I'm like,
no.
I just
back
the way
then,
that they
we
fight,
would sprawl, right?
Yeah, you'd sprawl.
That's
and
your
then
defense.
The way that people don't concede the takedown to get to a stalemate is insane.
No, but now they don't even sprawl. They'll jump through their legs onto
and I just mean like the creativity of how to get out of a takedown.
It's different. It's different.
Or end up like getting the takedown yourself as a guy shoots on you. It continually stuns me. And on the world circuit, like where you see, like, because I'll watch like these
Gable Steveson
and Jordan Burroughs and Kyle Dake and stuff like that. It's just such an impressive like athletic endeavor. That yes, I don't have to know who the guys are. I'll follow it, but I don't have to know who you are in order to be captivated by it. Because it's also really clear. With football, a lot of times it's like, unless you're focusing on two people in the play, it's like, what's the drama of the game is what down it is and what the score is. But like with wrestling, it's every movement is the drama.
Even on the edge of the mat. I mean, that's even changed. The way people wrestle on the edge, and then they can get a quick takedown, like getting your ankles at the very last second.
Yeah.
You mentioned Kyle Dake. That's interesting because he won the national championships in different weight classes.
Yeah, 4 different weight classes.
4 different weight classes. Shout out to Cornell, Nashawn Garrett, and Yanni, and all them. Diaka Mahalis, but how difficult? I mean, that must be very, very, very difficult.
It's insane. Just thinking about how like the best guys that I remember my friend won like the North Coast section.
Yeah, what section were you? Your
North Coast section.
North Coast. So is that in your Stockton, Modesto?
It was like it's on the coast, like so. It's like north of San Francisco up to like the Oregon border.
Oh, you're way up there.
Yeah, but like that. Those are the people who'd wrestle. Like it'd be like.
No, because it's the same thing. I was San Diego section. Yeah. There's Southern section.
Yeah, and that's a really tough section.
Oh, yeah. The LA. Even the LA sections are hard.
Yeah. So. The top because I know it differs by like I think like the top 8 guys from San Diego probably go to like
it was
state.
Back then it's changed a bit. I think the top 3, but back then in the 90s it was we do CIF top 6.
Okay.
Go to Masters. Top 4 go to state.
Yeah.
But you know what scared me? I'd wrestle a guy in LA Unified.
Yeah.
The guy would have a full-on mustache, like a full-on, like he looked like a cholo, like he was a man.
In wrestling, and I'm like, appearance is so intimidating.
Yeah,
because in football you can like guys would like do things like you put on the face paint and you'd like, you know, put like the neck roll on and kind of, but like with wrestling, you're just like, that's the dude half naked and he looks like he's gonna kill
a man.
me.
He's a man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I barely reached puberty. And I'm like,
there's no padding. There's no, you know, face mask.
Yeah.
There's no like there's nothing to hide behind. It's just like, this dude has, you know, hit puberty when he was 11. And,
it was very intimidating.
Yeah.
They'd headbutt you.
Yeah.
And even their smell, like you would smell their deodorant.
Yeah,
like,
it's such an
he smells like a man.
And I remember one of the things, as you talked about before, realizing like in retrospect, I remember like you're like, oh yes, I could have been doing this the whole time. This guy came, you know how like when you'd go to like whatever, you'd finish like your league and then you'd go to sections. And like kids from other schools would come like wrestle with you. We had a guy.
Oh, from neighboring high schools.
Yeah. You'd all do the group practice
to prep for the state meet.
So during one of those practices, this guy who was like the last person from our high school to place at state, he got like third in state or something. Christian Hupfeld.
That's great.
He was like almost borderline retarded, like. He almost like had like a sling blade thing going on where he's like, oh yeah, like he like seemed like a kind of like a dumb like mongoloid farm boy almost, you know? And like,
those are the tough boys,
right? Like so he's just like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do.
Did this
right? Like
in the
just
wrestling
like
van,
that, yeah. Like he was the embodiment of a can of dip, you know. He wrestled so aggressively. Like he wasn't technically skilled, but he would like,
what do you mean
you'd
by
lock
that?
up with him and he would just like grab your neck and just shake the shit out of you. Like everything was just all like, and you're just like, oh my God, like you can't, but like you kind of almost, it taught me, I'm like, oh, you can do that to anybody. And I should have been using more just like straight up physical. As a football player, it's like, I could go and just why not just go up to somebody and like push them?
Or headbutt them.
Yeah, like, everything should be done. Like the other day, like Brendan was showing me a move. Like,
I want to get to that. How you met that group?
Yeah. But I was just like Chappelle will like, you know, like Chappelle will do this thing. Like we'll mess around and I'll do certain moves on him and I'll try to like show him some of these basics. And Brendan, we were in zoo and like Brandon like did like a surprise zoo culture, the gym. Yeah.
Okay, shout out to zoo culture. Shout out to zoo culture. Where's that, in Venice or where's that?
That's in Woodland Hills, actually, on DeSoto Avenue. It's in the valley.
Gotcha. Okay. So join today.
Kind of a hidden location. So we were there and we're just messing around and like
you wrestling.
Yeah, I was like trying to show Chappelle something, and then Brendan comes up and like grabs a single leg on me, and the way he did it, that I was trying to convey it, I'm like, see Chappelle, like that's really, it's not about just like grabbing the leg. It's like he put everything into it and jacked it up so quick and just used the aggression that like, you know, you go, yeah, that's why you're an elite athlete. Right, you know what I mean? That's why you made it so far in the UFC or did so good in jiu-jitsu even. Because
that's interesting.
You're like, it's about this like malicious intent. It's not just about like, great technicians are also great. And like Cale Sanderson, you saw how smooth he was with like the single legs, like the ankle pick essentially. Like that was like, he would just like,
well, he was a freak too.
Yeah.
I mean,
but like,
that's
they
so
make
funny
it,
you brought
they make
him
it
up
look
because,
so effortless.
Yeah. Cause Cale was, I don't think he had lost a match in college for Iowa State, right?
He did not.
He was for Iowa State. He wrestled for Iowa. He never lost a match. Right?
Not a single match.
So he's the head coach of Penn State now. But this guy's he was a freak. He never lost a match.
Athletically, yeah, because you just see like the smooth. When I watch him wrestle, I just think like just he would just like the way he gets you to move in a way that just plays. It's never like an effort. It doesn't look like it's a strenuous effort.
No, it was technique.
Yes.
You know what? He reminded me of like similar to John Smith, that low single technique.
Yes.
He did that in his own way.
Yeah.
But he had a different style. He had a different style.
But like it's so good at it. It's like, because again, he's going up against, like you forget, as I was going to say before.
The Olympics. I think he won a gold in the Olympics.
I always tried to. He did. Yeah. And what's funny is like,
he wrestled the Korean guy one year.
Yes.
He
killed
the
Korean Olympic
guy.
Goal. Yeah. He lost like Yoel Romero, who's a fighter in the UFC.
Oh, for Cuba.
For
the Cuban guy.
In a world championship, I think. But like,
that guy's a
I think
freak
they went 1-1 or something like that, like in different matches. But it's like, you know, it's just funny how it's like, the chael center, you know, it's freestyle, which is slightly different than folk style, obviously. But like, I was going to make a point earlier about how these levels of guys to win a state championship in California.
Dude, I was ranked second in the state.
No way.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
I was ranked second at 103 from Poway.
Yeah.
And I was set to win it.
Yeah.
And what happened at this, I've said this before, and I went to visit my wrestling coach.
But it is a funny little thing of like rankings and like,
anything
can happen.
Yeah,
that's
the thing. But the thing is, what happened?
But you obviously did something crazy to earn it, the second place ranking.
I always choked at state.
Yeah.
Oh, I did good at sectionals, masters I won. Yeah. It was when I went to state, a switch just turned off.
Yeah.
And I would just freeze.
Well, it is this enormous, like, my brother went to state and he describes, like, it's like this fucking arena they have you in and it
was in Stockton back then, the University of the Pacific back then.
Yeah.
I love this interview, by the way. What we've been doing here. This is just, I'm having a great time with you.
Yeah.
But, it just shows that I wish I would have focused more on the mental side.
Right.
Because if I was mentally like that, going back to that one guy you were talking about, that freak, malicious, just that toughness and that mental edge. Yeah. If I had that, I would have won.
Because he's imposing his will on
everybody.
But I know what you mean, because like my first year wrestling, it was like, man, you are a nervous wreck. The first time you go wrestle, or at least I was, because I was like new to it, and it's like I'm going out and wrestling.
The worst.
I also was like, there was like a guy who was really highly ranked in the state, like in my county. So I had to wrestle him like
was he from
4
Clovis?
times. Or? No, it was like he was from this like lineage of wrestlers. Just like happened to be
what high school?
Marin Catholic.
Okay,
it's not a big, but it was just like his brother was like wrestling at ASU, and he was Calvary Chapel's amazing. But like this was just a guy who like I had to wrestle over and over again, and I knew he was elite. And he had this like name brand, and. It was just, it's nerve-wracking.
Can I tell you an interesting fact? People don't know because I look younger than my age, but at El Dorado, it was an early tournament. I beat the guy that ended up winning the state.
Yeah.
Broadman. I beat him in the finals of El Dorado. This other guy in the separate bracket, Steven Abbas. And, people who don't know who's Steven Abbas, he ended up getting silver in the Olympics. Yeah. He ended up winning state and going to Fresno.
That's really cool that you were in that mix of things.
Yeah, he ended up being a stud. Yeah.
Because
Steven
it really
Abbas.
and so that tells me like you probably could have wrestled in college.
Oh, but I was so beaten that because what ended up happening is I was in the stands at the end. Yeah. All those guys that placed, I had beaten all those guys.
Right.
And so afterwards, my coach was like, "Oh, you gonna do freestyle? Are you gonna?" And I was just like, "Nah, coach, I'm done."
Yeah. And I was just gonna say, so obviously you were doing so many things right, and you had the potential to.
It was my mind.
Right. Well.
It was my mind wasn't right.
The most basic element of that, yes, and you probably could have worked at that, but to do it for another 4 years or beyond,
that's an investment.
It's such hard work, and you're not with stuff like wrestling. It's not just the season; it's year round,
and it changes in college.
Yeah,
that's
and
a
guys
whole
are getting
beast.
better. Yeah, it's like now it's one thing to be a state championship, which is
in California is a big deal, man.
Yes,
because there's only one tournament. There's only one state tournament.
Right.
A lot of these states have like different, like Section B, like they have different.
Right, or even
B,
it's like,
C,
you're the
D.
state champion of Rhode Island. Cool. That's as big as my little county.
No,
whatever
California is one state championship.
Yeah, it's a huge deal, and so I'm just saying, like, to win that and then go to college where pretty much everybody else is like the state champion or whatever,
and
compete against these guys, and that's all you're doing is like, now you're in college and you're on your own, and you can really, you have more facilities, like everything just gets escalated.
Yeah.
And you got to really be a psycho because
Not
unless you're going into
that,
MMA, there's no money in wrestling.
Yeah, there's no, unless
so
you get an endorsement from like Cliff King or something.
And I don't know what the revenue model is now. I hope there's more shit, but like
no, they don't make a lot of money, dude.
Yeah,
unless you go into coaching.
And I think in other countries, for example, like from what I understand, like if you're in Russia, it's like you're just taken care of more. The amateur athletes are like, because they prioritize things like
the time flew with you because I could talk another hour with you. I want to get to where. How did you link up with Brendan and Chappelle and into the podcasting and what you're doing now?
I'll summarize that. Try to make it succinct. So basically, I was introduced to Chappelle via a mutual friend, my buddy Todd Dorham. Like, my car had just broken down. I was borrowing Todd's car, and Chappelle needed it for a night to like go to a show in Ventura or something like that. Mm-hmm. So like, I drove to Chappelle's. He drove me back to my house and took the car for the night. So we were like, just hung out in that little like 20-minute space.
Gotcha.
We instantly clicked over like music and stuff like that.
He's a great dude.
And also, it's funny. I thought because of his name, I don't know why, I thought he was going to be an Indian dude. Like,
really?
Like Chappelle, Lakshman Adi. Like, they just sounded Indian. I'm like, it's like big black.
Yeah.
You know, funny personal note. But we really hit it off immediately, and he wanted to work out with me. Like, you know,
for real.
But a lot of people will say that. They'll be like, I want to work out with you. I'm like, cool. Like, show up to the gym when I'm working out. And then he actually did.
He did.
Right. And he didn't have a car at the time. So there was like a series of months where he would like Uber every day just to work out with me.
So he was dedicated.
He was very dedicated. And also because of his athletic background, this is what I'll always praise him and other athletes for is I have tried to, like, people want to get in shape and I try to be generous. Like, I really like working out by myself a lot, like, or I can. It's enjoyable for me. But it's like, oh, if you want to learn from me and you're my friend, sure, come with me. But you can't interfere with what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
What do you mean by that?
Can't
Don't
talk to me too much. Talking's fine, but like, if you're going to be on your phone, if you're like doing things to undermine the workout, if my workout takes an hour and suddenly it's 90 minutes or 2 hours with you, or you're going, we're supposed to meet at 9 and you're like, oh, hey, I'm putting my shoes on. And then 30 minutes later, yeah, I got to take a shit. And then, oh, I'm just I'm getting out the door. Like, I would have friends where it's like, bro, like, don't hold me up for 2 hours. Like, because when I decide I want to go lift, I'm out the door and I'm doing it.
Right.
And so just to paint a contrast to like Chappelle would show up, he'd be like, what are we doing? I tell him, he would never complain. He would do everything I asked him. Like, he just had the athlete's mentality of like, because somebody has to be the coach, right? Even if we're both at the same skill level, if we both had the exact same training experience, it would just be like, well, who wants to lead the workout? Like, you could do it one day night, but like, it just wastes time to sort of negotiate. Well, I want to do this. No, I want to do this. It's just like, I'm either doing what you're doing or you're doing what I'm doing just to make it the most efficient experience possible. Right. And it's better just if one person leads it or not. And Chappelle could lead me in a workout. It's just like he wanted to learn from what I was doing. And at the time I was doing these really difficult, like full body circuits because, like I was just trying to get everything done in like in half an hour. So I had like my workouts, and this is a good advice. If you want to get ripped and you don't have a lot of time, start off with a mile run as fast as you can. Like, and I started off at like, let's say like 8 minutes, and eventually I got down to under 6, like with a 2% incline. So like, if you start off your workout with a mile, now you're not going to be as strong during the workout, but if you run a mile, at like a hard mile as a warm-up, your heart rate's going to be jacked, and you're going to go into this. You can't leave it to the end because you're always going to skip it. You say, yeah, I'm going to finish my workout and then run a mile. No, you're not. You guarantee you're not going to do that.
You do the cardio first?
Just for this style of working out, for like a HIIT style CrossFit. Yeah, so run 1 mile, and then you're going to do 5 movements back to back to back for 3 rounds. And between the rounds, you can rest 2-3 minutes. But what you're going to do is pick either a pair of dumbbells or a barbell, or like at the landmine station where the bar is like attached into the ground, and you can do what I'm about to describe, which is do a pushing movement, a pulling movement, a hinging movement.
What's a hinging movement?
Like when you're bending over at the hips, like so. Like a deadlift or
gotcha.
You can do that on one leg. Yeah. You can do a kettlebell swing.
Yeah.
A squatting movement, or a lunging movement, but something that basically focuses on your quads. That can be a goblet squat, that can be a barbell squat, that can be, a jump squat with no weight, and then an abdominal movement. That covers your whole body. Yes. And then in 5 movements, and then you rest, do it again, rest, do it again. So, for example, if you had, 2 dumbbells, you'd lay on a bench and go, boom, 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 I'm doing bench press. Then I'm standing up and bending over and rowing them to hit my back muscles. Then I'm putting them up on my shoulders and squatting to get my squat movement. Then I'm doing a Romanian deadlift where I'm bending over at the waist and activating my glutes and my hamstrings for my hinge movement. And then I'm laying on my back and maybe like holding the dumbbell out here and crunching upwards to get a weighted crunch movement, right? Whole body.
There you go.
And then your heart rate's up the whole time. You don't have to use a ton of weight. You just got to do the movements. And that will take about half an hour.
What?
And you might be on the floor afterwards the first time.
Yeah.
But you're going to get better. Now, a body weight one, for example, would be push-ups, pull-ups, right? You have the push and the pull. Then jump squats. And then for your hinge movement, it's a little bit, you could do like like bending over on one leg like this. If you do this like 20 times, stretch and come up, you'll actually feel a great burn in your butt and your hamstrings.
Right.
And then just some crunches,
That's
right?
it.
Full body circuit.
It's easier said than done.
Yeah. And a jump jump squat. Well, do 20 jump squats in a row and see if your quads burn.
How did you so to end this interview, how did you meet the crew like Brendan and the rest?
Yeah. So Chappelle one day was like, oh, Brendan wants to meet you. Brendan wants to work out with you.
Really?
I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I want to meet Brendan too. We show up to Zoo Culture where they had gotten a membership, and it was like the only gym that like didn't enforce a mask mandate during COVID because Bradley Martin was like, fuck this. Like, and also they're not going to shut down. Everything was supposed to shut down. And he's like, no, people's livelihoods are here with filming content and stuff like that because they let you film content there. And so he's just said, fuck you to the city of LA. So anyway, we go there. Brendan's like, Chappelle's like, hey, Brendan, this is Mark. And we hit it off. We have a good workout. And me and Brendan got along. And so we just kept working out together. But then I find out afterwards, Chappelle's like, oh, and I don't think he even admitted it. Just came out that like he surprised Brendan with me being there. Like they were just supposed to work out together. And then Chappelle was just like, here's Mark.
Oh, wow.
But it worked out. Like,
So you guys got along right away.
Yeah, but we got along. He's a good dude. He's a very good dude. He's incredibly generous.
Yeah.
And just such a, he's been such a positive influence in my life. And
he grinds.
Yeah.
He's a hard-working dude.
He's a great example for anybody. Where it's like, you want to make it? Like,
he works hard, dude.
He doesn't stop.
He does not stop. I mean, he's got a whiskey now?
Yeah.
He's getting his own whiskey now.
And same with Chappelle. I always like uses him as an example of like, he focuses on the things that he cares about.
Yeah.
He's not wasting all his time, like, reading about pop culture. Like people will always say on the podcast, like Chappelle doesn't know anything because something will come up and he's like, oh, I don't know what happened with Kim Kardashian. It's like, and they'll try to come at him about things he doesn't know about. I'm like, do you know that's such a great virtue? To only focus on the things that you care about,
exactly.
Music, comedy, his relationship,
and that's it,
and working out and playing the guitar,
and he skateboards too.
And skateboarding. So it's like that's a model to me of how everyone should be. It's like take the things that you like, forget about everything else,
and just focus on that.
Yeah, and then get good at the things that you want to get good at.
Yeah, you just got to spend time doing it. Right. Now you do have a podcast as well, right?
Yes.
Can we plug your plugging your stuff, your Instagram, your podcast, your gym? How does one get trained by you as well?
Well,
because I want to get you some business there out there.
Yeah, and again, it's not like that's a huge part of my like. If you really want to be trained by me, you can reach out to me. And a lot of times I'll go
through what?
Yeah, well, through Instagram at @HellaMarkHarley. My podcast is the Haters Will Say podcast, and it's basically I give fitness advice. I look at gym fails. I try to keep it light and funny while also giving information about diet, nutrition, and different segments each week. And it's just me. Sometimes I'll have guests on, but really it's just me kind of going like, here's my spin on fitness and how to have fun with it and, be motivating and not take myself too seriously. You can message me on Instagram. I try to go through and answer all the questions that I can. I do get a lot of messages, but like if you message me and like some people will be like, oh, I'll pay you for this. And I'm like, well, first let's see, like, can I just answer your question? Can I help you out? And maybe there's a simple answer to it. If you want to go beyond that and do online training or you live in LA and actually want me to train you, that's an option. But for the most part, I try to be generous with my time and expertise to go like, if I can point you in the right direction, I'm going to do that. And I'm not going to take any money for it because I want to see everybody be in shape. And there's so many resources online. I know it's just a big, like, a difficult thing to navigate YouTube and find the right answers. But I do have some kind of shortcuts to be like, hey, you should be watching this person. You should check out this guy's page. You should look at this video for the question that you have.
You could get that on YouTube too, right?
Buy a YouTube premium account. That's it.
If
you want to learn about fitness,
just do that.
Just start, there's like 5 pages you could follow that would teach you almost everything.
Right. Now your name is spelled with a K and then the Harley is with the E.
Harley.
L-E-Y.
Hella Mark Harley on IG.
Like
and
the Harley Davidson.
Exactly.
Like Harley Davidson with the L-E-Y.
Exactly.
Mark with the K.
Exactly.
And then same thing with your Instagram.
Yep.
Right? So follow him on Instagram.
Please
and
do.
Ask questions first.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
And then we'll talk.
And if nothing else, I post a lot of funny memes all day. So
there you go.
To my stories.
And then how do they listen to the podcast as well? Can you shout
It's
that?
on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts.
And the name of it again?
Haters Will Say.
Haters
will say a lot of crazy shit.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I like your positivity, man.
Yeah.
So thanks again for tuning in again for another episode of the Steebee Weebee Show. If you want to help support the platform, go to patreon.com/SteebeeWeebee, SteebeeWeebeeShow.com for my website and the merch, SteebeeWeebeeBandcamp.com. I just put like my latest thing. I know I did it months and like a year ago, but I Feel Stir Crazy should be on Spotify and all those other platforms by now. Instagram /QUANGOU. And I do have a P.O. box if you want to send any packages or mail. I haven't checked it in a while, but I'll go tomorrow or something. 1425 North Cherokee Avenue, P.O. Box 1391, LA, California 90093. Dude, it was a fucking awesome experience
so
having
much fun,
you here. Did you have fun? It flew by, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Once we got into the wrestling.
Oh yeah, I could talk to you about. I could talk to you about that for 5 hours.
Yeah.
That's all I watch at night. I
That's
love
really
it.
cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
My buddy Skip is a trip, feeling blue like a crib. Framed for robbing a bank, letting loose from the hip. He really couldn't predict this script was so full of angst. Him and Henry Woodpeckers did a song and dance at big. Oh, rodeo man in the West, you can. You're the best on the land to bless the sand. Stir the bull with your hand, oh Skip, you can. Get that fucking bull and pull on that rope. Feeling stir crazy, maintaining against the grain. Making me wanna get in a plane. The pain inside my brain never ends sustain. I'm down for the count on the ground freight train. Living today, don't give it away. They're preaching the praise, the raise. Shining it down to mightiest crowns, the finest of frowns delayed. Skippy's afraid, he feels betrayed. Live this way, can deal with shade. A spade is a spade, he made the greatest blade in a charade of pain. I am not a man, I am an animal, a male. I live by maritime, the law of water, about to sail. When my mother had me, I slipped out of her canal. What you call a sailing ship is named after a female.